Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Between Two Brokers. Today, we have Ben and Kate Towill from Basic Projects joining us. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So you're local entrepreneurs, you're husband and wife, you've been in Charleston for close to 10 years. Can you give us a little bit of a background, your work background, where you're from, how you got together, and how you got to Charleston?
You're always good when you start.
Okay.
I like to come in.
So yeah, been here for 10 years. Kate and I met in New York, and I was in the restaurant business, and from England originally. I was a chef, and Kate came into a restaurant I had, the Fat Radish, and that was it. Bam! Picked me up, and we went on a fantastic date. Kate picked me up in a pickup truck. There was Bruce Springsteen playing. She had a beer in the cup holder.
Are you serious?
Oh my God. I'm glad my husband's not here.
I was nervous. I was like, I'm
saying,
going to down a beer before this date.
Yeah,
I was a little nervous.
So we nailed that.
Also, I was living in Bushwick, and he was living in Brooklyn Heights, and he was like, where should we have a date, Brooklyn Heights or Bushwick? And anyone who knows those two areas, one is not cute and one is very cute.
Yeah,
so
I live
it's
with
like Brooklyn Heights.
It was great.
Let's keep it there.
So we met there, and then moved down here in 2013.
That's right.
And I came down to work on the Duvet Hotel for a little bit, and then we set up Basic Projects.
You fell in love with the city.
Love the city. You know, the city has really grown on us. I got to be honest. I think moving from, really enjoyed New York, and not being from the States, like the South is a whole other country.
Yes, it is.
So it took
And you're not from the South, right?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, so that took a minute to get used to, and I think everyone is sort of made by the people. The restaurant business has obviously helped a lot. As you know, we have now a restaurant downtown, we have a restaurant in the Old Village, and then a restaurant Sullivans. So like, really get to know a place pretty quickly when you've got over 300,000 people come through the doors on an annual basis. You get to meet a lot of people, get involved in lots of fun stuff, really be part of the community, and then sort of life changes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the job at the Dewberry is what brought you guys to Charleston, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then did you have friends here? Did you know people here?
We didn't.
No.
We really didn't. We were both ready to leave New York City. We both had been there 10 years, and we were like, where do you go after New York? And we came down here and visited this project that he was going to be on. We were like, I think this could be a great next step.
So maybe the question is, we didn't have any friends down here. This is a good bit of advice. If you move to a city, lots of coffee. But we just reached out to a lot of people at the beginning and just met people in the city and made a
food
big
and
effort.
beverage is like an instant family.
Yeah.
Right,
Totally.
exactly.
That's a great
And
point.
all our friends now were those people we kind of reached out to at the beginning.
But Ben had the Fat Radish in New York and a restaurant up in Montauk, but he was like, no more restaurants when we came down.
Yeah.
And then,
Adamant, yeah.
And then that, I don't know.
Isn't
how
that the first
happened.
thing you did? Was
No,
a
it was
restaurant?
Dewberry.
No,
and
we
then
tried to
Okay.
get, we were like, we're going to be real estate developers. We weren't very good at it. So anyway, we renovated some houses, and then we bought a couple of commercial buildings where Chasing Sage is now. We own that,
Yeah.
267 Rutledge. And then eventually where Basic Kitchen is, we looked at that building, and then we're like, oh, we could do the restaurant in here instead of getting a tenant. And it got us back into the restaurant game.
Yeah.
And that was early days for Charleston to have like a veggie forward restaurant.
Yeah.
We started as a vegetarian restaurant. Terrible idea.
That was a bad idea.
Okay,
We
wait.
brought the
Hold on a
burger in.
second. I want to back up for a second. So you are a former chef.
Yeah.
But talk about your background, because
Yes.
we're just talking about like these things just happen, but you have a design background.
That I do, yeah. I don't have a typical interior design background though. So I did graphic design in college in Brooklyn at Pratt, and then I ended up going into like production design and set design. So I worked in the film industry for about 7 years, and that was really fun because you're away on fun movies and for months at a time, and you're not designing. It's very different than residential design. You're designing to the frame. You're designing for something in 1965. You're like creating a world, and it's a place that I actually think that's why I love doing restaurants and hotels, because you're creating these worlds for people to come into for a few hours, and you can have a bit more fun. It's not someone's home. So you kind of feel it instead of notice every little detail. So I think my background in sets really kind of set me up for doing more of the restaurant world versus like residential.
Okay, so Ben starts at the Dewberry. What are you doing?
So I went back to school and learned AutoCAD and did a few things so that I could, because I was really interested in doing more. With movies, you create something and then it gets, taken down after 3 months of building. So I was like, I want to do something that can stay around longer. So I was like, I'm going to go back for some interior design, work and learn how to do AutoCAD myself so I could pick up some more homes to do.
Okay, so you wanted to become an interior designer?
Yeah, I wanted to get more into residential and just be able to do my own drawings.
I don't think it was they were just interiors. I think we already had an intent to. I think it's going. The Duvet is a very short-lived experience,
right?
And it's an incredible hotel. It wasn't for me. But then we biked across the U.S. together.
That's true.
Right, so that was like we moved here, did that, and then 6 months later we left to cycle across the U.S. And then we came back to Charleston with an idea of just like, let's, Kate was really interested in interior architecture and kind of breathing life back into old buildings rather than the interior design piece. And that's
more in the material aspect rather than like pillows and.
We did
That's
what
interior design is. But it was more the materials and like stripping everything back.
And you were GCing our jobs.
Yeah. My name was Kate D's.
You were like we were doing. So we did President Street. We did. Carolina Street, and then we did the Chasing Sage building. So we were doing.
Okay.
Did you have to like engage a mentor though when you're talking about like historical buildings and materials?
Actually, Lindsay from Flyway, who Lindsay Nevin. Yeah, he's a great friend, and he was one of the first friends that we met here. And I was like, Lindsay, I want to do this house, but I'm going to need, I'm not a licensed GC. I'm going to need you to help me a little bit. And he gave me subs, and he would check in, on Fridays after he was on his way home from work, and he'd be like, what have you done?
Yeah.
We need to do this. But I learned so much, and I'm so happy to have that knowledge now as a designer because, it's not, I know how hard it is to make things happen from a construction standpoint instead of, after drywall.
I think it's a big thing, like dream that people moving here, especially second home, and their kids are out of the house and they're like, I want a project, and an historic home in Charleston sounds fabulous, and we're like, you have no idea the beast that you're about to unleash when you're dealing with a home built in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And all the materials and the regulations and everything. But I mean, kudos to you for tackling that.
So we're still surprised after 10 years. I mean, we're honestly like, oh my God, it's going to take how long?
Yeah.
So we've just done that ourselves. But that's really your. I mean, I'm speaking for you, but your kind of niche is that you wear the sort of construction hat and the design hat, and then you have someone on your team who's
really good at like the softer side.
Softer side.
Okay, so you are buying commercial property at this point
and some residential
and
here in Charleston and in Savannah. So we renovate. Yeah, we did. I think the next thing we did is a 19-bedroom apartment hotel and a restaurant in Savannah, and then we did a really amazing property on 1 East Gordon Street in Savannah, which was a front house had these like micro apartments, 4 like That's studio so cool. apartments, and then a 2-story 3-bedroom apartment, and then a beautiful carriage house with a retail store. And
how do you choose?
We were saying this the other day. We looked at so many properties, and we're like, man, if we had just bought everything we looked at, how cool would that have been?
That would be great.
Yeah.
And were you welcome?
We were always working. We'd get on bikes and walk and talk to everyone and find things.
I feel like the best stuff
Alex
was
Raskin had the antique store in Savannah, and it was opposite his.
So cool.
Okay, my husband, this is what I was going to ask you. Were you welcomed with open arms in Savannah? Because my husband and his friend were under contract to buy the Alex Raskin's Antiques building.
Yeah.
And just wanted to put an elevator on the exterior. And the neighborhood came out in droves.
Yeah.
And we were replacing the staircase with an exterior elevator, and they shut it down, and they were like, we later found out just from going to, oh my God, what's my favorite little bar down there? I can't remember. No, it's like got a like Miami Vice type of vibe. They spin records.
Yeah. I don't know the one.
I can't remember.
Everywhere has a different set of challenges, and Savannah has its own set. Charleston has its own set. We tried to do a great idea on John's Island, on Hoopstick Island, and we've years trying to get it rezoned to do a farm with 30 cabins, and it was all going to be in a conservation easement, and the farm was going to feed the restaurants. It was a really low impact idea, but we got accused of recreating Coachella. And I got called everything under the sun, and it never went through, and I think it was a real shame.
Well, you guys like a challenge.
Absolutely.
And you're, to me, listening to all of your different ideas, you're like completely open, right?
Yeah.
Right, like not only one
Yeah.
way or no way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you got to be. For us, like we, you never know where you're gonna. We don't think this is where we're going. Like if you'd said, oh, we're going to be doing Post House and Sullivan's and.
Well, you
the stuff
started
that
by
we're
saying
doing.
restaurants were off limits, and then you
Right.
got into restaurants.
They're back on.
And now you're into hotels.
Hotels, we love that, and we've got some really exciting things happening with the company. We're going to be getting into some consumer good products with Basic Kitchen and with the design side, some tabletop things. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff happening.
I want to talk about the Post House specifically because to me, you like breathed new life into this place that desperately needed it. It was owned by one restaurant group here for forever, and then another one bought it, and that was short lived. And we were like excited when they bought it, and then it was like, oh, this is shit.
Yeah.
And then you guys came in, and it was like, not only did you do this beautiful renovation, moved the bar from the back to the front. It's like, duh, that's what this place
People were
needed.
not loving that idea in the beginning. I'll
Well,
tell you
it
what.
works. So not only like just the aesthetics, but the food, and it's just like it seemed to me like the neighborhood really had like its bar back, its restaurant
Cool.
back. Do you feel that way? Did you get pushback? And what was it like when you? Why that was it? Did it just speak to you when you went to go? I didn't even know it was for sale, or was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. How did that?
Yeah, so we were actually looking at another property, which was potentially going to be the Seabird Inn, and as we were looking at that, the guy said, "Hey, the Post House might be open to selling." It was under the Hall's ownership, and they were focusing on expanding Halls, and I think they'd purchased the Post House when they bought the Elliott's group, Mavericks. So yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that, because it was like breathing life back into something again. We've spent great neighborhood restaurants and pubs. They're kind of a meeting place for the community, and
It was such a dream project, especially, we talked about how I love an old building to come in there, and like it's really hard to recreate some of those old details. Post House is 1890s, and in the bar room it's all the original beadboard, and that's like the dream, plus these 7 bedrooms above. So we leaned into that age, and we used William Morris wallpaper, which he's a pattern maker from the 1870s in London, and we wanted it to, when people come to visit, whether they're not from here or even staycation, you want it to feel older, but you don't want it too old and fuddy, right? So it was a nice mixture of some older feeling in the building, but then with like beautiful new beds and some clean artwork. And we worked with Artist Collective on a lot of the art on the wall, and it just felt like such a natural thing for us. It was so great. And with Ben's being from England, this idea of like the village restaurant, the village pub with rooms above. And I think in the States we always do hotels and the restaurant's kind of secondary. And it was so nice to have this. And the town, like Old Village, has come around so well, and then the rooms are kind of secondary thing, but they're like a nice icing on the cake.
And did it fall to you to ask people for money to help your vision come to life?
No.
And what's that like?
No.
The field fundraising?
We have there's 3 of us involved in that, and we have I just talking to, that's one piece that you can make something look great, and I think you did an amazing job at the Post House. And then the next piece is like, how do you welcome people? How do you engage with people? We were ready to open on literally on the March 20th of 2020. So then we spent that first year obviously dealing with the challenges that were presented with COVID, but also everyone was here in the neighborhood and everyone was stuck in the house. So everyone sort of embraced this idea of this restaurant. And if you remember, we had all the tables out in the street, and I wish we did more of that.
So nice, yeah.
So then it was a question of how do we establish a relationship with the Old Village and our regulars, and from wine dinners to some of the neighborhood nights that we do. Lots of birthdays happen up in the Rose Room. We just kind of, it had been closed off from the community. So, you know, I gave anyone who had a complaint my number. If it's noisy, if it's an issue, like, don't just badmouth, just call me and like, let's talk about it.
This is a complaining neighborhood. That's a big ask.
But I actually really respect that, because it's a challenge for everyone. Like, if we're a busy restaurant and we're right in a residential neighborhood or on the edge of that strip, but it's so important because they should coexist. But like, trash and recycling and deliveries are noisy, so like, we can work on a window that works for you, and if someone's done the wrong thing, like, so suddenly we started building that relationship again, and then the team, like, we just got an amazing team who like love coming to work. We really work hard on that, so you know, that feels like they care. And
I was literally at the bar last night. I stayed there last night with 2 girlfriends. I haven't stayed there since we opened, and we were doing like a little staycation thing, and we were at the bar having a cocktail, and like, there was all these like beautiful flowers on the bar, and Akai, our bartender, I was like, where did we get these flowers? And he was like, oh, I brought them from my garden.
Yes.
I love you. Thank you. Like,
I thought you were going to say there were all these beautiful people at the bar, because I was at the bar last night. But
I did notice that too. Yeah. But like, just that dedication, and like, it is a family in there. It's really nice.
yeah.
I want to say this, and then we can move on to a different topic. But I have clients who purchased in this neighborhood who moved here from Brooklyn because of the Post House.
Oh, that's
they
so
wanted
nice
to be
to hear.
walkable to that, because it's like their favorite place when they, and I
have a
think they
spot.
happened to stay there when they came to visit.
Oh, awesome.
And they just fell in love with it, and then learned about the neighborhood, and they were like, this is the only place we want to be. So
we actually do a commission-based.
I won't turn that down.
She wants points from a loyalty card.
Yeah.
She's there 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
She always talks about the Post
We do
House.
talk about some
So we're
stuff,
trying to
Yeah.
get that. That's
Yeah,
our
we've
next
been
thing.
talking about
Yeah.
doing that,
Like, I
like a
love
loyalty card.
the piggy points from home team, which is great. So we're trying to do that. We need to get a POS system. But you will be first to know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I am curious, Kate, though, because I know Erin still wants to keep talking about the Post House, though. Moving the bar to the front, that's brilliant. Because I love when you walk in and you like just catch that vibe.
Feel that energy, yeah.
Yeah. So like, how did you
It-
come up with that?
So you remember it was like kind of a galley bar before,
Yeah.
and but the neighborhood loved that bar so much, of course. But we were all like, no, you want to feel the energy and the glow. If you remember, the dining room was in the front as well, and it had like these plantation shutters, and it just felt dark, and that wasn't a great entrance to us. So I remember we like had a little neighborhood meeting and wanted to like present the plans to everyone, and a lot of people were like, that's not going to work. Like, having the bar in the front, the bar has to stay where it is. We need the original bar. And we were like, no, I promise, this like glow from the street. You know, we have this like oversized tent lamp that I found in Amsterdam. Like, this is going to make you walk up and just like smile and want to order a martini. And I think that was, you know, I'm slightly obsessed with lighting and lamps, and we're making these like custom little shades for the back. And I'm like, that glow is important from the street. And also that idea, it was another hotel we stayed in Paris that had this idea of like, you check in for your room also at the host stand where the bar is. So it's like, it's small, and like the old, before we got it, that you would check in like a separate area, and it just felt like a bit quiet. So it was nice to have the energy all at the same place,
Yeah.
which was cool.
I
So they
love
take
it.
your bags up, and then you know, grab a drink before you go to your room.
Yep.
But was Basic was the first restaurant y'all did in Charleston?
Yeah, Base Kitchen, yeah.
Okay.
6 years ago.
And you mentioned starting a vegetarian restaurant. Was it originally vegetarian or?
Well, the Basic Kitchen originally was like, there wasn't anywhere kind of particularly healthful to eat, and there wasn't like there wasn't just this like all day cafe place that like it was. That's what we felt, and so I really wanted to do a very kind of healthy as a restaurant concept called Butcher's Daughter, and they're in LA and New York, and it's vegetarian, but you don't really know, and it's just very cool, and that's what we sort of wanted to model it off. And then we quickly realized we had this aha moment with our manager at the time brought her family in from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I watched them sitting there, and the dad was a cattle farmer. The mum was a marathon runner who was vegan. The daughter was vegetarian, and the son worked on the cattle ranch and worked for Ecolab, selling cattle. And I was like, we've got to be able to accommodate this family. Like, two of them we already got, but we got to get dad and her brother. And so I said to him, he was like, giving me feedback. And I said, well, if we put a burger on, I'll buy the meat from you. And he drove it down from his farm in Tennessee for years. And so that's like, we put a hamburger on, we put a few other things on, and suddenly we started getting Joel and Emily and the whole family in the restaurant. So it was like, we can tick a bunch of boxes. And so that was the kind of turning point. Mm-hmm. And so, Joel, until we end up selling too many hamburgers, he's like, I just can't drive it down anymore. So we switched to another farm in North Carolina. But so it was like a single point, and we felt really good about that. So that's how the concept has evolved. And
that idea of like not pigeonholing yourself, like being able to, it was just such a more welcoming experience if we could have everyone felt like they could. Yeah,
we sell the same amount of hamburgers as we do vegetarian basic bowls, like exactly the same every week.
Interesting.
Which is kind of cool.
What has the restaurant business taught you about people?
Great. Well, it's everything.
They're nuts.
Well, I have been doing this long enough to know that there's the customer side, and then there's our team side, and I will agree. Generally, people are nuts. But I think the thing that taught us most about people was COVID. To be honest, COVID taught you got people at their most vulnerable, frustrated, scared, excited to be out, and like behind masks, not behind masks. So I've come out of that with a great appreciation of, one, what it's like to operate in an environment without those restrictions. Two, your team is everything, and this city is really challenging in that way. And then the Charleston guest versus like another city, it's very. I say to anyone, sorry,
it's okay.
Anyone coming here to Charleston to open a restaurant, you talked about Savannah and the elevator. This is a really interesting market to come into from out of town in the hospitality sector. It's very nuanced. We've got different groups. It's not that big. You rely on tourists and students. And if you get a loyal customer base, they are the most supportive, incredible people. But you got to work your tail off to like earn their trust. So Charleston's like a great place to come, and it's harder than New York, in my opinion, to do restaurants here than New York. There's lots of
demand.
People.
Right. You get it right, you're off to the races. Here, like, we talk about post-house or basic kitchen or fish camp. Like we've got some wine dinners coming up. We've just changed the uniform. You're doing a collaboration in the rooms. We've got fire pits coming. Like it's always constantly changing, evolving. We're just doing a refresh on the rooms. You've just painted the back room. We're trying to get a fire in there.
Yeah, like you always say, like we're always learning, and we're always going to just keep at it. And I think like keeping that refreshment going is a lot of restaurant groups would just kind of be like, we're done, and I think it's really important also to like, we take feedback really well. You read feedback every morning from all the guests.
Oh,
I know. I'm like, that would kill my day, but he loves it.
But not love it, but why wouldn't I?
Yeah, like
if someone's got the time to write a review, like I've never written a review for
Do
anything
you
in my
laugh?
life. So like, if you're doing that, like clearly you either really want to be heard, or you really actually have some feedback to say, like, hey, I love this place, but like last night wasn't great. And I'm like, okay, well, let's read about it. Well, it wasn't great about it. And then we talk about it the next day at lunch or line up. And so that's really important. I mean, it's the same in any business you do. If you're getting feedback from customers all the time and you're not reacting to it,
It's funny. I always say, though, the restaurant business is one that, like, anyone can give feedback. Like, imagine if you did that to like your doctor. Like anyone can get feedback on like they know the restaurant business, but it's something that we all do together. So it's something that is easy.
No
to
doctor
feedback.
would get 5 stars.
I mean,
all
like,
1 stars. I waited 3 hours. I want to talk about Basic Kitchen, just going back to it, because as you guys just brought up, like you're constant. I mean, that's a long time to be in that space. So that's like the old Andolini's, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you remember it was like black inside too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some exciting stuff happening on there. We own the building there. We're going to be adding onto the back. We're just going to move.
Like, how do you decide though what to do? Is it a menu change? Is it a design change? Like, how are you making these decisions?
Well, Basic Kitchen is like we both love it. It's like,
it's the most
our tagline there is cleaner, fuel long adventure. So that's just constantly evolving. We've got amazing team that's been there a long time, and we're always, we're just always tweaking, working. I love the team-based kitchen. I love the concept. It's not for everyone, but for us, we love it.
Are the people that eat there, is it because now that whole area is like tourists to me? Is it locals or is it?
You'd be surprised. It's so much more local. Yeah,
Huh.
we
It's
get
faculty from this college.
Love
it's
that.
meetings. It's
like dinner with their
business
kids,
lunch.
Charleston Village area, walking
Yep.
down there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's after school. We get a lot of after school moms
when
with
you
their
pick
kids.
up the kids off school.
Yeah.
It's just like a restaurant that's kind of the same on a Monday as it is on a Friday.
Yeah.
That's really
and then
beautiful.
Friday
Yeah.
does have like we do like a big influx on Friday lunch and Saturday and Sunday is
Brunch.
it's a lot of tourists and like bachelorette and parties and stuff like that. We normally have two of those per service, but it's really a neighborhood spot. I mean, we have one lady who's incredible. She's come in every day for 6 years when she's in town for a cappuccino at 11 o'clock.
And she's also
Suzanne.
so cute, and she
She's
sits in the corner, always the same table with her cappuccino.
And we have a lot of that. We just have a lot of people who like
That's
they
so
always
cool.
do Wednesday lunch there. Like they're a professor at the college and they bring a student for like there's so much of that stuff.
You've spoken a lot about your staff at both of your, or all of your places. Are you hiring for talent or potential or attitude, or do you have like certain interview questions you ask?
Yeah, honestly, is attitude. You can teach the rest. So we've got 270 team members at the moment, and we have very little staff turnover. We do a lot of things that restaurant groups our size don't do, which is why we have that. So we offer minimum 2 weeks paid vacation to every employee, health insurance to every employee, 401ks. We do birthdays and anniversaries, extra days off. We do a very limited, no overtime unless requested. So like all the things that you don't expect. We do gym memberships. We've just taken our senior team to challenge to Whistler to do Everest. I've got 3 people running the marathon, the New York Marathon. I've got them sending 2 other people to Running Man, where we want to cater next year, and that's happening in a couple of weeks. So like we're all about like build a culture,
Like interesting, you don't do like wine after work. It's more. It's like not a
I
food and
mean-
bev is such a drinking and
we
drugs
tend to do
area.
morning meetings with teams rather than anything after service. So like you're up early. We do it normally like walking and moving. I just had a menu meeting this morning. It's so like we're here to stay. We want to build a company that you can work at a long time and just be really long term about it. And in the hospitality business, if you don't have people who are enjoying what they're doing, it kind of kills the vibe.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
So that's really important. And I think if you were to go and talk to our team, we had just around the corner from here, we do a big annual party, and we had Alhambra Hall, and this year was line dancing, last year was
Oh my God, the
Olympics.
staff party was so
and
good.
and they're fun.
It really
Everyone
was.
looks forward to those things. So
Yeah. I just saw Michael, our bartender at Post House. He was in the staff party too, and I was like, it's just so much fun.
and then some employees break away, talking about being an entrepreneur. If they break away and do something, I'm so supportive of it. So Michael, who you're talking to, he now has a juice company. He does citrus. Like we were finding, you could only buy frozen juices, lemon and lime juice for the bars.
This is Michael Mai.
Yeah.
We love him.
So
Yeah.
he's now
So
doing
cute.
doing fresh juices, and so of course I'm like, well, we're his best customer, and like let's go, and there's a lot of that. So it's kind of we all support one another. So yeah,
But it's
the team's
24
like
hours, 7 days a week.
365 days. Post house
yeah.
open 365 days
Even
a year,
Christmas
24
Day.
hours a day.
Yeah.
Remember the free pints in the morning?
I don't know if you've been down to free
Oh my
beers
God,
at Post
it's
House
so
on Christmas
fun.
Day.
No.
People come in their pajamas.
It's 10
Wow.
to 12 free beers for the neighborhood, and it is a zoo.
Yeah, people are
Wow.
spilled out on the
Everyone
streets.
comes
God, I'm gonna have to stay home for
It's so
Christmas.
fun.
I always go away.
Do you know, like,
Damn.
when the kids get up early, you're like, oh my God, it's 7 o'clock and I don't want to open presents yet. You're like, let's go. Let's like
take
have
a
little
walk.
breakfast. Yeah, let's go have a beer. We'll come back, then we'll open
it's
presents.
such it's amazing, so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
So, you have mentioned like we're different from other restaurant groups of our size, but how do you know what to do? Like, how did you know how to create the culture? Is it like I worked in these places and this is what I hated, or this is what I like? I mean, how do you come up with that?
I feel like I can only speak from waitressing during college in New York City. But this is a Benji question. I mean, Eva knows this. And
No, it's not really a question, but I give you, again, we want to build a really great hospitality company that's rooted in great design, great food, great people, and so it starts with a great culture for our team, and we don't always get it right, but you just kind of ask those questions, and like, what did you enjoy? What was the best job you ever had? What did you like about it? How did you get treated? How did you feel when you mess up? Own it. And we're constantly asking those questions. I think Kate and
I think that's key.
Yeah, I didn't finish high school. I don't know how to run a company. So it's like, suddenly you start asking yourself, like, how did I feel when I was 17, 18, when I left home, or I'm in my 20s? I used to work for Gordon Ramsay in New York. Like, what are the things I would do differently? It's like when I arrived in America, like, we have people over on visas. I remember coming to the US, and like, we had no support. Like, I paid for my own ticket. I paid for my visa. Like, I got working 90 hours a week. I never saw it. Like all of those things is how not to do it. And then so when someone arrives, we put them up in a hotel for a week. We get them settled. Like, we make them feel part of this team. We show them around the city. So, you suddenly like, okay, I can do this, because like, moving to another country is a big deal. We speak the same language, but that's about it between the UK and the US. Or, if we relocate someone, or I don't know, there's so many things. What is it like to move up through a company? How do you deal with like telling the people you were working alongside with as a waitress, I'm now your manager? Like, that's a challenging thing. Or another thing we've just introduced is like, we're probably 15% of our team have kids, so a small number, maybe less. But like, when you have back to school week, it's a nightmare if you're a parent, right? It's just, for Kate and I, like, you've said the summer holidays are finished, and like, it's back to school, and like, your schedule's changed, your kids are a pain in the butt. So like, we then say, well, you gotta have the first 3 days off of that week. And it's in the calendar, it's like back to school week. So if you're a manager doing the schedule and someone on your team has kids, like, that makes a big difference if someone's looking out for you. So it's just stuff like that.
Is it just kind of like build something that's Instagrammable and people will come? Or did y'all sink a lot of money into marketing?
No, zero.
Yeah. I love that, actually.
Let's talk about being, because it means that something's Instagrammable. Something's Instagrammable means you want to take a picture of it, right? So I think, so like, I want it to something that's beautiful, feels, I think of people like the most Instagrammable restaurant or something like that. Never build something because you want, I think people just started taking pictures of stuff that it didn't feel forced. Like, I think if Kate's just finished a house on explain what
on Pitt Street downtown in Charleston Village. And like I said, I don't do many residentials, but a few, maybe two, and this one was like 2 years. I remember I had just had Iris, and she's now 2.5, and I was like, I wasn't looking in emails. I was doing a full maternity leave, and then these guys reached out, and I was like, you know what? They sound amazing, and they're in this like old home on Pitt Street. They sent me pictures.
I know, I keep trying to do it myself. I'm like burying it.
Just turn it.
Oh, yeah,
You can edit that out.
What
I'm
a
sorry.
team.
I mean, geez, who invited this guy? Okay.
Sorry. Go on.
The 1 second I get to talk.
Yeah.
That's good. Where are you talking about? Pitt Street. And I remember going to see the house with them, and like, it just like Post House, where after seeing that, I'm like, this is a dream project. Like, this is amazing. Seeing Pitt Street, it's like 1830s. It was completely like, not derelict, but it was ready for an unbelievable renovation. And I was like, I remember Iris was 5 weeks. You like walked her down the street because she was having a breakdown. And I was like, we have to take on this project. It's so cool. And I'm like, literally just had a baby. But anyways, this one was so special to do. Again, like, I kind of pick my clients a bit, which I feel really lucky about. But like, if there's, I almost make them send me a Pinterest board first, because I'm like, I want your style and my style to match, or else this isn't gonna work. And they just had so much. We just had so much fun. We went to Round Top in Texas and picked out unbelievable antiques together. We had fun with wallpaper and color, and we took an old rug and cut it up and made it a runner up their stairs, and just so much fun. And like, I put my heart and soul into those projects, and of course into our own. But that one just finished. We just photographed it.
Right, and I went in there the other day. I hadn't been in there before, and like, so talking about this moment, it's like we're building a house quite close to that, which is similar sort of layout. And I basically was like, I want all this stuff.
Do that.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm married to the person who designed it. It's great.
I got you. But yeah, special.
So
So
will it
you
be on your website? The
It
photos?
will, yeah.
Okay.
And we had an old friend of ours, Nicole Franzen, who's like a mega interiors photographer, photograph it, and I was just like,
But
what
the
is
thing
this?
that's so great
Amazing.
is like the stained glass, like these like stained glass transoms, and like that came from the guy who made the like stained glass like Pizza Hut lights at
Fish Camp.
Like so you start
Cool.
picking out these like real
Yeah.
characters along the way, and
Yeah,
like
and it's
Texas
really-
and Round Top, you go there all the time. So if you're taking a client there, you kind of know everyone.
Yeah, and these guys are so cool. They like want to drink tequila every night. We're like, guys, yeah, really. But I think my set design background is what sets it apart a bit from maybe some other residential designers, because like, yeah, you look at those old transoms above, and I'm like, instead of that just being clear glass, we got to make that like cool stained glass up there, or like, you know, just all these little moments that you just can have a little bit more fun with, and these guys were up for it.
Yeah, I can't
which
wait
is
for
cool.
you guys to see these pictures.
Yeah, the pictures are so good.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Fat Radish in Savannah. I never went to the one in New York. And I know it's closed now. And so I guess the question is, and I have no idea why it closed, but
I can tell.
I'm sure you will. When do you know when it's time to stop throwing good money after bad and pull the
Yeah.
plug on something?
Well, I didn't. Fat Radish. I'd sold Fat Radish, so I didn't own. We owned the building. We didn't own the concept, and we haven't closed a restaurant before. So that was closed to the people we sold it to ended up closing it. So I think in answer to the question, throwing good money after bad, for us, if we're not getting it right, then we can look at each other in the eyes and say this is not right. But there's a difference between staying the course and evolving and throwing the towel in. And so for us, I always ask, like, one, are we in a good location? 2, do we have a good team? 3, are we just not quite getting it right and we need to like work harder? And Basic Kitchen was the best lesson we ever had like that. I mean, we used to have, and I'm not, at the beginning, there was points where we probably were going to have to close, and we had maybe 20 people for lunch and 10 people for dinner. And we changed the menu, and we all looked at each other and said, like, every night, it doesn't matter if there's 5 people in here or 10 people in here, like, let's give them the best service, and let's like really, if we really believe in the menu and really believe in this concept, and we turned 20 into 30, 30 into 40, 40 into 50. I think now our average lunch, we probably do 200 people for lunch and maybe 150 for dinner.
Wow.
In brunch, I think, we're over 300. So, but there was times when we really had less than 10 customers for our entire dinner set. So I remember one December, Nick, who's a chef now at Fish Camp, being like, I just said, keep, like he was cooking a mushroom bolognese, and it was delicious. And I was like, just keep cooking that delicious bolognese, and I'll go up and we'll sell it. And we're in a good location. The college is there. And so I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think when you don't have those ingredients and you don't believe in it, stop it.
Well,
And we're going through that Fish Camp. So.
But I think also it's like you didn't give up. Most people
Right.
just give up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When it gets hard, this guy kicks off. Like it's insane. I don't know if we'll talk about your row across the Atlantic Ocean last December, but like it is so true. When it gets hard, it's like COVID especially, like there was no book of what to do. I mean, you just didn't give up. Like the basic boxes kept Basic Kitchen alive. Those like
What were the basic boxes?
Basic boxes were like a takeaway food box that you would order, and that we would fill it each week, and then you would come and pick up your box, and you do it every week. I mean, he's just.
I think it's the
incredible
spirit.
at that.
We've got the tools. So
Yeah.
like we have the tools now as a group. Like, okay, we want to, Kate and the design. Do we need to evolve in our design? Like we can have that. We have an architect on staff. We now have a videographer on our team. Instead of anyone, we don't spend money on marketing, but we spend money on like creating content. So like, okay, do we have a story to tell that we're not telling, or how are we selling something, or
And if it's not
is
authentic,
our
people
HR
know.
wrong? Do we have the
Yeah.
wrong policies? Like, who's in charge of HR? Do our team feel like? So I guess we can start working through at some point. Like, you go, if all those things aren't right and you've tried it, then I guess you're doing the wrong thing. So, for example, like if we kept being a vegetarian restaurant at Basic Kitchen and we've been slogging it out for 2 years, I'd say, right, it's probably time to shut up shop or evolve or change. But that's what we
Okay, let's talk about the Atlantic row.
Oh,
I don't know how it's very. But yeah, I mean that'll teach you a lot about. Honestly, if we're talking about being an entrepreneur, and you're talking about team building, and you're talking about communication, and you're talking about doing something you've never done before. Like these are all the things. If you start a new business, if you're going into a big project or a big life change, there's a lot of lessons that were learned, for both of us, by rowing the Atlantic Ocean. Because, when we started, I'd never been in a rowing boat.
Okay, wait, you did it? You did it together?
No. He did it with our head chef, Charlie from Basic Kitchen.
Okay, what kind of boat are we talking about?
It's a 24-foot ocean rowing boat that we had built in England, shipped here during COVID, and then we were training rowing from Florida to Charleston, about 30 miles offshore.
Wow.
Which is a horrendous experience.
Especially in July.
I just want to set this one scene. Yeah, we were sitting there in July. I was like, oh my God, it's Sunday evening. We were planning to go off on Sunday night down to Florida and then row out Monday morning. And I just thought, you never get the Sunday evening blues, and it's the last thing you feel like doing is going back to work. Well, try the Sunday evening blues when you've got to drive down to Florida and row back. It's like, oh my God, the last thing I want to do is this experience, because it's just... so much weather and lightning, and those summer storms happen out there 30 miles offshore. It's more frightening than the Atlantic, actually. Anyway, that was an experience we did last year over Christmas. Taught Kate and I a lot about our relationship. I think Kate was pregnant when I told her I was going to go for this. And our son is 6 and our daughter's 2, so I was away for 40 days. Well, I was away for longer than 40 days, but the row took 40 days. So you come back stronger, and again, just so many lessons learned about Charlie and I. For instance, this is like talking about partnerships, right? You go into a partnership, you guys are in a partnership in business, and you're going to have these moments where like it's going to test that friendship and it's going to test that relationship. Well, when you're rowing an ocean, you sleep for 2 hours and you row for 2 hours, 24 hours a day. So you never sleep for more than an hour and 40 minutes for up to 70 days. We were 40. So you have to kind of hash out all your stuff before you get on the boat, because you're so tired you can't actually make sense of issues that come up. So you have to like spend years preparing and stress testing your relationship. So Charlie and I would stay up for a long period of time and fight about things, and so we knew what we're getting into when we had an argument at sea. It was like, no, you're exhausted, and like we're not doing this here. Yeah. Like, move on.
We're not doing this here. Not in front of these people.
Can you imagine being on a boat with me for 40 days?
No. And I can't believe you were supportive of this.
So that's what I was going to ask.
God,
so he tells you, so obviously you know what you're dealing with. You married him, okay?
Totally.
And there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm very curious about. We don't have enough time to talk about it, unfortunately. But like, we have a high school dropout who decides it's a good idea to row a boat. And anyway, but what is when he comes to you and tells you this, are you like, what's your reaction?
Well, I knew I was going to talk him out of it, because that's who he is. That's who he's always been. I mean, it was his idea to bike across the states. And, we did this awesome trip to Antarctica. Like, he's just like, he goes after it. He goes after life. Like, that he was going to do it. And he had talked about it since we even started dating, about one of his great friends in England had done it, and he was like, I'd always want to do that. I'm like, oh God, here we go. But, I think everyone always asks me, like, one, why did you say yes? Like, to me, just because we're married and we have kids, like, I'm not gonna say no, but that's, you support, like, you have to, I remember my grandma saying this, you have to remember why you fell in love with your partner, right? I fell in love with him because his lease of life, his adventure, that spirit. And I'm like, I'm not going to kill that spirit. Like, yes, it's going to be difficult. But I remember talking to another woman whose husband did it. And she was like, he's going to come back like an even better husband. I was like, really? She's like, oh my God. Go. Yeah, go do it. Like, just like fantastic. Like, just very, like, there's nothing that Benji can't like work out. Like, he's like, we can work this out. We can figure this out. Like I said, like, when it gets hard is when he really gets going. And I'm probably overall like a very positive person. And Benji maybe is a little bit more of the dips and the highs, but it works for us. Like, that's how it works. And the kids, Iris is too young. She won't remember it. But Oscar, like, he will remember it. We after Ben left, and that was hard because he was like, how much do you kind of include him in this and what's happening, and you could think the worst. But we, after Ben left, we made a little message in a bottle and like had this like it was so cute, had this little necklace for Ben, and we threw it off Breach Inlet. And I was like, okay, I think he's going to get this.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
Oscar's like, oh my God. He was 5 at this point. He was like, yeah, this is going to reach him. Like, Santa is basically going to help this get to him. I'm like, oh, yeah. So then we had, and some of my friends literally were like, did the bottle actually get to him? I'm like, you guys. There was 2 bottles. Like, come on. So we put an exact replica bottle in his boat with the shell necklace. And we have this video of him, him coming upside of it and finding it, and they put the shell necklaces on, and Oscar, I showed this to him on Christmas morning, and Oscar's like, oh my God, they found the bottle. Like, he was freaking out, and like,
what a memory.
You have to remember, you have to remember, like, it was the worst Christmas ever, if I'm totally honest, because I was worried the whole time, and we were at my mom's house, and she was sick, and it was like, oh my God.
I didn't have a great Christmas.
But you just have to kind of remember those moments, right? And be like, let's kind of make some fun of this situation and do the best we can. Like, they capsized a few days after Christmas, which was a whole thing, but honestly, the best part was when he was on the boat. It was most exciting. I think the hardest part was every weekend fundraising, every weekend training rows, every morning. You were up for 5 to 8 every morning working out. Like, the prep was so full on, but the row was so exciting. And he talks about maybe doing the Pacific. I'm like, motherfucker.
Well, when you do that, can you take my husband with you?
Wait, does he want to go?
Yeah.
We got an extra seat in
Yeah,
our boat.
yeah.
It's a 4-manner.
Oh my God, raise it
Big guy.
down.
He's got a big reach. I think he'll do great. What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs, not necessarily in the restaurant business, but just about the things that keep you up at night, or the challenges of facing the unknown, or the what ifs and oh fucks, we messed up.
Yeah, well, that is part of the course. We've been talking a lot about it, as we're growing and some stuff on the horizon. Like, how do you move like fast and light, like you did with, like, how do you keep that like energy and like not get bogged down with like layers? I think it's really important to remember, like, just if you feel something in your gut, like, I just think you got to really listen to that and go for it. And like, everyone will tell you, I've done market research, and like, nothing great came out of like a market research strategy with being an entrepreneur. So I'm like, we're in that place at the moment where I'm like, we're doing too much of that, I think. And I'm just like, no, if you feel like it's going to work, like, try it, and fail.
That's what I was going to say. Like, always learn from your failures, and like, don't be afraid to change and like learn, and don't be like, you're going to fail so many times before you get to where you want to be. And your team is really important. Yeah. And you won't get the right team in the beginning. I think being patient with that.
I always think of that once you find great people, like, as well, to make sure you can run with people and make sure those people feel really engaged in everything that you're doing, because without them, so those are the really important things. And I just think you got to have fun. We just talk about that a lot. Like, if you're not having fun, change what you're doing, because it's never going to work. Like, every great story you ever hear is people are like enjoying what they're doing. They're bringing, like, there's a kid on a hip, there's something's happening, like, we're all kind of in this, and they're these like breaking points, and like, you got to just keep at it and keep having fun, and it'll either fail or not or what, but you might as well have fun doing it.
I think it's funny you bring that up, because I feel like when a bunch of people make it and get a lot of money, they're like, I want to own a restaurant. How fun will that be?
So funny you say that.
Don't do that.
It's like,
Don't do that. We were saying that. We're like, why do people want to do that?
And I've struggled with that a lot. We've had investors over the years, and we really try and we have very few investors or none in our projects now, but we used to, and it often would be people who wanted to get into the business for. And it's such a nuanced business, and it's like, you can't like put, it's so, you just can't put like a return hat on it, and like, it's people, and it's real, and it's farmers, and it's customers, and it's like, and I know it just, so you can't look at it through a spreadsheet lens. That kind of works out if everyone's having fun, you're serving delicious food, and like people are coming back. Like that takes care of itself. So like think about that stuff rather than like cuts and like, you know, could we do less ketchup in the ramekin? Like, you know, there's never way to kill a restaurant.
Can I have another ketchup?
Yeah, well, I'm going to charge you for that. Like, don't charge people for that. Like that literally kills them. They'll never come back.
I think it's maybe I'm just thinking about this too narrowly, but I think it's maybe the predominant like business industry that you can never get too comfortable in. Like my husband owns some Irish pubs, and one of them has been around since 2003 in Park Circle, and there's constantly, you know, I mean, like it's a staple. It like made the street almost. There's always something being put in front of you in the restaurant business that is like mostly financially the challenge, right? And it gets this glorious, like, out. People just think it's, oh my God, they own a restaurant? Oh, how fabulous.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's fucking awful.
So I'm so glad you say that, because there's a real perceived idea. Like everyone's car in the last 2 years, like the value of that either used car or the car that they want to buy went up, I'm going to say between 10 and 15%, maybe more. And you were just like, oh, that's just now the cost of my car payment.
Right.
But if you put up a hamburger price, 20%, people think that guy is driving a Ferrari, like he's in the Bahamas half the year. You're like, no. It's just because everything went up. Like, there's this really incredibly sort of visceral reaction to like restaurants and restaurant owners, and it's this like easy breezy.
Life is good.
The fact that they came out of COVID, as many did, you know, it's a miracle. Or just a testament to the love of the industry
really
and the power of putting your head down on a challenge. So
one other thing is that I would say for Kate, which doesn't get talked about enough, like what you asked about marketing, and I just like, Kate has a superhuman talent to capture, like as we've done this, we've been 10 years with basic projects, Kate somehow captures what we've been doing and how we do it, and the world through Kate's eyes is something that I think it does draw people in. And like, I'll be with her, we had the same trip, we walked around the same hill, and like I got the worst picture ever. And like Kate looks like, I'm like, oh my God, I really want to go there. I just went there. Like, she has this ability. Like, I didn't see
so
that
fun.
guy like sunbathing on a old log, but it's a superpower. We all acknowledge it in our company. Like, it's a visual superpower that Kate has.
That's
that
nice, man.
I sometimes want to like jump into that world.
That makes, you know,
But I think that's like that authentic. We were talking before, like people can feel when something's not authentic, right?
Yeah.
Especially Instagram, like is so much of that, and like you can feel when something is trying hard. But like, that's why a team is so important, because like sometimes I'll pop by one of the restaurants and like pop into the kitchen, and I think people want to see more behind the scenes and how it really is. Not everything so polished and perfect for a photo shoot. So for sure,
you nailed it.
Yeah. Anything else you have?
I have a lot of questions, but I feel like
So sorry.
you guys
It's
are
probably
very,
like
very interesting.
verbal
and
diarrhea.
you are a handful. Kate. Whoa. I mean,
I know,
you've got,
right?
but that's the thing. Like, people, they all
Try
think they
living
want
with
to. When we were on a call earlier, you know, I was like, people want to be you, but it's like you don't stop. Like, you are just constant. And I think that's
why I'm like I'm going to stay at Postos by myself tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I think entrepreneurs are all a bit crazy because we're like, you know, yes,
you
I
absolutely
think
have to
you
be.
have to be. But we really appreciate you guys coming
thanks
on
for having us.
and sharing your story. And we're
Thank you.
so
treat.
grateful to have you in Charleston as a part of our community.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thanks,
Hope
guys.
you
That was
enjoy. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Check us out at Between Two Brokers and at Smith Spencer Real Estate. We'll see you next time.